Hello, Transformers and Blokees fans. This is Speedball Holland. Today for you guys, I have for you the most interesting and surprising TF1 champion slash classic class release from Blokees. And unfortunately, my friends, I must mention this is also Blokees' final TF1 release for their champion classic series. And that is, of course, one of the 13 himself, megatronus. Yes, my friends, no one saw this one coming. It was rumored a while back, but no one really thought about it. But yes, Megatronus has finally joined the Blokees lineup, and yes, this is an awesome version of him because, of course, this is off his TF1 variation. And yes, I definitely can say I'm so happy to have this in my collection because the fact I believe that all the 13 of the TF1 movie designs have been some of my favorite versions, and Megatronus is just really cool looking. I mean, his design is just awesome. I mean, look at this. He doesn't. We know our Megatronus as well from all the variations we've seen of him, from being on fire to being an old man and so forth. And this version is honestly one of my favorite variations for good reasons. The design, the colors, his really cool shock spear, it just looks so perfect on him. I love it. And I love the fact how he played, even though sadly a small role in the movie, how we got to see him play off his attacks and such throughout, well, in the movie. And sadly, of course, how he was defeated, of course, by Sentinel Prime himself. Oh, that was a. I know probably if it was a one-on-one deal, Megatronus would have probably won for sure. But yes, this version of Megatronus is definitely one of very popular favorites for many fans for sure, and of course a perfect version for him for the TF1 movie, which sadly, yes, we all know we're not going to get any more of. But however, now for the model itself, my friends, what do I think of it? I think it is definitely one of Blockie's best classic Champion Series units. It is definitely a good one for the TF1 line. And sadly, yes, even though we're not getting any more units, I would have loved to have seen a complete 13 Champion class series lineup of all 13 with him. It would have been awesome. I admit that. But yeah, as we all know, that's not going to be the case. Now, before we go on further, let's go into some articulation with him. Now, before I mention that, actually, let's mention some of the color separation, friends. And as always, Blockie's color separation is definitely well done with this kit, between the purples, the grays, and so forth. There is no sticker needed for this kit. Easy to assemble, trust me. And the fun articulation they added to Megatronus comparison to their previous ones is definitely pretty cool. I mean, for example, let me move the wings out of the way. You have, of course, the standard ball jointed shoulder setup, so you can go as as many ways as you want, full 360 and so forth. You can go all the way with his arms here, and his bend can go all the way up here. But what's interesting with the arm is that they added an extra setup here, which would allow you to extend the arm outwards. Because you can actually push the arm in for standard poses, but you can actually extend the arm out now to increase his range, which is really cool. I love that. It was really cool to see that. I didn't even know they did that until the build. For hands, of course, it's just your standard ball jointed hand and such for that. For waist, it's a ball joint, so you can, without, of course, any armor in the way, you can go full 360 with no problem. His leg with the extra hinge setup that you have here, you can bend his leg forwards, back, extended, of course, and you can bend his leg all the way back with the hinge setup here, and of course his ball jointed foot. So you can extend his leg out or push it back up for standard height and so forth. And yes, with a full 360 spin here. And yeah, so he's got a good amount of articulation to play with, guys. And of course, his head, well, though unfortunately because of the armor, of course, he's not going to go full 360 without a little assistance, but he does have a good amount of ball jointed mobility, and just like any of the other Champion Classic Series units, he has an LED feature. Now, normally you would see it in the chest here, but because of the setup here, you can't see the light from there. But if I'm right, Once I turn these down real quick, you guys can see the LEDs in his eyes, which is really nice. That's the one thing too I liked about our Megatronus here is that, unlike most Megatronus, which are, of course, the fallen, evil, first Decepticon, etc., we all know he usually plays his tragic story, as we all know the tale. But in this version, I really liked Megatronus as well because in this version of him for TF1, he wasn't playing the normal standard story for him. He was playing just a heroic 13 member, and it was really cool to see that with him. It's honestly would be nice to see more stories with Megatronus playing, the hero, the heroic version of himself before, of course, the tragic tale of him in Solus Prime. That was one other reason I really liked this version. Oh, and before I almost forgot, the wings here also have just a peg setup so they can flap, but the wings themselves are individual, so you can actually open and close them however you'd like. You can move them this way so you can completely get as much room as you need. And of course, you can open them up all the way for full display posing and such. And speaking of posing, let's take a quick look at one of his accessory pieces, which is his stand piece, which of course all these units come with, which, yeah, this is a very big stand, guys. This is not your average champion classic stand piece that normally would see. This is a big stand. I mean, it has these special peg setups for his feet, of course, the cool purple flame pieces, and this part here, which I believe is normally for like a stand connector, like if you had an extended piece, but he didn't come with one that I saw. But it is so much bigger. In fact, I can prove it because I borrowed my Sentinel's display base so you guys can see the difference in literal height. This thing is literally the size of two of these, which is the normal for these kits. So Megatron has definitely got a little special treatment. But it's really cool. I like this stand. It's nice. And of course, just like all the others, you can connect them together from all sides. So if you happen to have the entire TF1 setup, you can literally connect them all together now. And this one is definitely a nice centerpiece for him. And he just pegs into the bottom of the feet here, just like all the others would. And as for any other accessories you might be wondering, besides, of course, his weapon and his arm cannon and such, all he comes with left is just hand pieces for, just open and close hands. That's it. So he doesn't have a lot of accessories to worry about or to put away, if you're wondering. And other than that, so yeah, this is a very fun version to play around with, guys. And for TF1, it is definitely one you gotta have for many reasons. I know for a fact because ever since the movie, I know tons of people have loved the Megatronus model design and so forth. Oh my god, so much fan art I've seen of him since. But it is so cool. I definitely understand why. And now that we finally have a toy of him, because remember, friends, Blokees is the first brand to release their own Megatronus that honestly it surprised. But yeah, Blokees was the first to give us Megatronus, and that's besides Hasbro, Takara, and all the other brands we normally would see. No, he's the first TF1 release. So yeah, and it's definitely screen accurate. I love that fact about the Blokees designs. They always go for accuracy. I love it. And now, and speaking of designs and such, why don't we take a look comparison with a couple of his fellow TF1 wave mates and series mates, such as his a fellow Prime, Optimus Prime. So Megatronus is just a bit taller, but it is cool to have. So that's the one thing about this line I like too is that they gave us a number of primes in this one, not just multiple Optimuses, just actual different primes. So it's really cool to have. And of course, if I'm showing off others, I have to show him off with his number one fan, Megatron, and his inheritor of his cog, of course. And yes, it is really nice to have these two together, especially, of course, if you have the Galaxy D16 cogless version. I think that looks great with Megatronus, honestly. But as you can see, guys, Megatronus is still a little bit taller than Megatron himself, but it is finally nice to have these two together in a collection. It's so much fun to have, trust me. And lastly, a fellow 13 Prime himself, but sadly not champion class, but Galaxy Alpha Trion. Even though they're not exactly the same scale in the sense, but it is nice to have at least two of the Primes from the movie in the lineup. It is nice. I would have loved to say have more, and yes, as I said, it would have been great to have all 13 in this lineup. But honestly, I doubt we would have seen it anyway. It would have been cool. Don't get me wrong. Though, to be fairly honest, I am a little surprised we didn't get an Alpha Trion champion classic class unit. I would have expected that because if they had done it, I would assume most likely he would have came with a cape because I've seen that with other champion classic units they've done. So yeah, I was a little surprised that we're not going to get that. But I can understand too why Blokees is not doing any more too, because as we of course know, the movie's been out is now out, and it's been a while now. So obviously, Blokees of course is going to move on to more stuff and go from there, and at least wait till the next movie to come about for new stuff. First, actually new movie ideas. Now, of course, I know that they're working on the Bayverse series, which I definitely cannot wait to check out for you guys because there's a number of units I definitely want to see, and hopefully we'll see of later on. But yes, that is it for today, my friends. My final thoughts on Megatronus is yes, buy him. You must have him. But in all fair seriousness, guys, yes, I highly recommend him. I've had no issues with this build. He's easy to do, fun to play with, and if you're worried about stability or anything, there you go. I've had no issues. So I do hope you'll consider the lineup, and I do hope you'll check out some of my previous reviews on the TF1's Champion Class series. Now, of course, before I forget, friends, I want to make sure to show this off so you guys, if you wonder who might be the biggest Prime in the lineup, well, as you guys can see, here is Sentinel Prime, and in his whole battle gear setup compared to Megatronus, as you guys can see. And yes, Sentinel is a bit, well, bulkier, I guess, in the sense because of his wings and such. But yes, I still think Megatronus is definitely a cool one out of the two of them for sure, for many reasons. Now, besides that, my friends. So yes, I thank you guys for coming. I do hope you're enjoying your hobby, and if you guys enjoyed this TF1 review, I do hope you'll check out some of my other reviews on this line and such. So yes, I thank you all, and I do hope you have a good day.